Okay guys, today we have an alternator going on an 08 Acura MDX. Let's take a look at it. Customer's complaint is alternator charge light comes on at idle, and put an alternator on it several years ago. So he wants to go ahead and replace it. So we're going to get busy. First thing we're going to do is disconnect that negative ground cable. Now, guys, you can try this without disconnecting cables, and it is possible to be done. And by the way, excuse the messy shop. We're still in transition. But it can be done. You can do this without disconnecting your battery. But if you was to slip, it could mean fried processor. So let's take a look. I think I can do it with this. Had it handy, so just a little 10 millimeter. Just loosen it up. Don't drop the ratchet. Wiggle it off. Okay, we will lay our ratchet back here in extension using my trusty snap-on. Alright, so we're going to pull power steering bracket loose here. We're going to pull the overflow reservoir loose here, and we're going to pop this up out of there so that we can gain some room to work. But we need to get way down in there, behind there, to the tensioner. And then of course the alternator comes up through there too. Let's get busy. So I took the liberty of grabbing a few tools that I knew I was going to need. So, screwdriver, flex head ratchet, snap-on in design, gear wrench, 10 millimeter, gear wrench in design. Snap-on builds a quality one. It's much more expensive. I've been using gear wrench since day one. I do have a set of Black Hawk and a set of Mac and maybe a set of Snap-on small ones, but my standard, I love these XLs. I highly advise them. I'm not getting paid for that. I just love them. I do break one about once a year, but they're old now. They replace them. And instead of bringing out my tensioner tool, I should be able to take that loose with my trusty double boxed end Snap-on extra long wrench. And this is a 14 millimeter on one end, 15 on the other end. The 14 should be what we need. So let's flip around and look at this. So right here, we need to pop this little, try and get y'all in there where you can see. We need to pop this little plug loose. Let's see if we can get it turned. There we go. Turned around to where I can get on it. I do got a pair of pliers for this also, but screwdriver was handy. And then we will just wiggle it out of here like that. Now we got a little hose that snaps into it down here. We'll pop that hose out. We're going to thread the reservoir cap off and lay it over here to the side out of the way. Some people like to leave it partially in the way. I like to just go ahead and get it all the way over here away from where I'm going to be working. There's some little snaps there it goes in. And just remove it. Now, power steering, you could use a stubby ratchet and a socket. That's what I brought my trusty 10 millimeter ratchet wrench for. Alright, now here's the cowl panel as a trusty spot for my bolts. They won't run away that way. As you see, we are loose. And it gains us access to the overflow jug that just slides in a little bracket down there. And I think I'm gonna need both hands for this, so we'll come back. All right, so I have the overflow jug out and positioned over out of my way in a spot that it should not fall over. I am gonna move it though, and I'm gonna show you why. So I've got it right there. This looks like it'd be an easy thing to break. So we are going to move it over here by the battery where it won't break nothing. Now, we got to get down in there, right there to that tensioner. And if I remember right, that tensioner will spring towards the firewall. I wish I had my flashlight on me. I'm going to need my hand in there. You guys may not be able to watch. And there you go. A lot of this stuff is easier without holding the camera, but I do this for you guys. So, as you can see, we are on the tensioner. We're going to push that towards the firewall. Get my hand in there, I will. Right, bring it back in a second. I can't hold the camera and do this. Okay, we have slipped our belt off. Got that part of the problem took care of. Now we have 12mm bolt right there on the top of the alternator to take care of. And down there, if I can get the phone down there, we have a 14, if I remember right, to take care of. And then right here, see that little grommet? See if I can get my hand to it to show you. Right there. That is where our charge cable hooks up. So we're going to disconnect that. Right there. I think that's a 12 also. And then we have the signal wires to unhook back here on the back of the alternator that I'll never be able to let you see because of where it's at, but I'll show you when I get it out. All right, I have got the electrical wires loose. I have got the top bolt out, and while I'm talking to you, I'm threading the bottom, the 14mm bolt out. And I did lie to you. Where this alternator's been replaced, the charge cable bolt was not a 12. It was not a 14. It was a 13, which is not what Acura uses. And here is that bottom bolt out in my hand. Place it up there for safekeeping. All right, be right back. Okay, going to show you one more here. You see this bracket? That's the alternator hold down bracket. We're going to go ahead and take that 12mm bolt out and remove that bracket, because I think it's necessary to remove that alternator with it out of there. And if nothing else, it's going to make it easier, and it's one bolt. So here we go. So the bolt was a 10. There's my 10mm socket. There's my long snap-on 1/4" drive ratchet. I love the plastic handles. And guys, if you think you don't need a long ratchet, they make some jobs so much easier, because you don't need a 3/8 drive. They're just big and bulky and in the way on some jobs. There's the bracket. There's the bolt. So let's put them up here out of the way. All right, we should be ready to start getting this alternator out of here, which I'm not going to be able to show you on camera because it's going to take two hands. But as you can see, I'm wiggling it back and forth. It's because the alternator has a wedge lock design that holds it on the bottom when you tighten the bolt up. So I've got to either wiggle it loose or get a pry bar in there to collapse that back the other direction. So anyway, you can see I've got it loose. I just got to get it off now. So hang on. Okay, that took me all of about 4 seconds off camera. As you can see, it is off. We're going to bring it right up through here. It's a tight fit, but it will come right through here. Okay, so here we go. Okay, that took about 45 seconds. She's out of there, right through here. Put the power string pump up, reservoir up out of your way, and it will come through there if you don't get rough. Wiggle and take your time. All right, now I gotta run the parts store and get a alternator. Here we go. All right, guys, got the alternator. Getting ready to put it on. Turn on the lights. So one day I'll finish this makeshift shop. For now, it works. So there's my alternator. This is a Napa one. So I gotta get it down in that hole. So enough formalities. Let's get it in there. So if you look right down there where my pry bar tip is, that is the bushing that the alternator sits in between that tightens up when you tighten the bolt up. So I want to move that a little bit. And I just got to get my bar in the right position. I hope y'all can see this. Dang autofocus. Don't need to move it much. Okay, it looks like it moved. So now I'm going to get my hand down there and check it. Okay, I got my lower bolt in. You'll see I've still got the alternator tilted over out of the way. I've got my real long handled snap-on ratchet on this, and it's not because I need a long handled one. It's a 3/8 drive ratchet, by the way. It's just that get it up here to where I can run this bolt down. And I may cheat here in a second and go get my air ratchet. Or battery powered ratchet. Matter of fact, I think I will. There's no need to keep this going no longer than it has to be. Let the tools do the work, not you. Just will run this down till it barely snugs, because I don't have the other bolt in yet. So that way I can tip the alternator back and put the other bolt in. Wiring harness over here out of our way a little bit. So that's where we're going to be. I gotta get our bracket back in there. So I can't do that on camera, so hang loose. Life easy on you. I'll just give you a few pointers here. That bottom bolt, if you'll snug it down just a little bit to where the alternator will kind of stay where you swivel it to, on that way while you're lining this bolt up, because it's only got one mounting point. So I loosely put that bolt in so I can line this one up, but I like to snug that alternator down to where it holds itself where I put it, so that I'm not trying to fight an alternator, a bolt, and a bracket. So now I got to tighten them down, so hang loose. Alright, so down here I'm tightening up the nut on the battery charge cable on the alternator. And this is not something you want to over torque. I am just, you can see me here, small short ratchet and just my fingers on it. No getting carried away. Get this off here, I'll show you what I got. So I'm using a wobble head. If we can get focus on it. A wobble head extension. Now you can do this with a swivel socket too. My long extension and my short ratchet. That way, with that short ratchet, obviously I could still break that and ring that off, but it helps me control what I'm doing. So, throw away my sockets. Helps me control what I'm doing so that I don't mess up. Now, I've already, obviously, still got a battery cable disconnected. I've done plugged up the alternator. Everything's plugged up now. I still got to put this bracket back in place. Got one bolt that holds it. It's got a little alignment dowel too, so that way it aligns. And looks like this is the one that goes in there. So there we go. We'll get our 10mm socket. And we will just barely snug that down. Just plastic. Let's not break it, folks. Alright, so now we gotta put our belt on and put our battery cable back on. So you can put battery cable on last, but when I do this, I like to check it, make sure the battery cable is going to go on without problems. Now I'm going to loosen this on up because that battery cable was not on there all the way. When they put this battery in, they didn't get it down on there, and that's common. So now it's on there. Okay, so again, right there is the tensioner. You saw me take it off, take the belt off. So I am using a long ratchet. They make special tools for this. And put that long ratchet right there, and it pushes towards the firewall. See? All right. All you gotta do is the same thing. Okay, we got to get our overflow jug back down in here. This, see that little wedge, has to sit in that bracket right there. So we're going to pull the power string pump out of the way and slide her down in there. I don't know if y'all can see. kind of show you. Like that. So now that goes back on. Don't forget it. We got our little plastic clip. It's hard to do this without looking. There we go. I was looking at the camera instead of what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, we got this little tab on the power string pump bracket that goes in that slot. See? And then all that pulls back over, and this bolt goes back in that hole. All right, guys, my lovely, beautiful wife, in her white shirt that she's going to ruin by touching me because I have my arm down in there. She has brought me a treat. Let's see what, these are our organic berries from our organic orchard. And yummy!
It's October what?
15th-ish.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Nope, 12th.
Anyway, mid-October.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a break. I'll be back for y'all in a minute. Remember our trusty ratchet wrench to tighten that bolt. All right, last thing. Put our reservoir hose back in and cap overfill. Just thread that down. It's barely finger tight. And then snap all your lines back in. Double check everything. We got our hose in, our jug. Snapped in, snapped in. Got my cap back on here. Power steering fluid should be full because I didn't spill any. It is. Belt is on. Now we got to pick up tools and start it, but we should be able to start it without picking up tools. Okay, I'm not going to get in it because I haven't washed my hands. I'm just going to reach in. Okay, now a good test for your alternator is turn on all your lights, put them on bright, and turn your blower on high. So wide open. Last thing we'll have to do is coat back in the stereo. Okay, sounds good, looks good. Time for a test drive after we pick up our tools. There's no donating of tools. All right, guys, I hope that helped. Belt routing, you can find all that information online pretty easily. Just Google 08 Acura, if that's what yours is, MDX. I don't want to put belt routing on there because I don't know how many year models are the same off the top of my head, and I don't want to take time to look it all up to confirm that they're all the same. The belt on mine was a K060841. So that's a Gates part number, Napa part number. Napa don't use the K, they use a 25 instead of a K, but still a Gates belt. All right, guys, hey, like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Share this video with friends. Comment on this video. Man, it helps me out a lot and helps me know what you're all thinking. Thank you. See you later.